RTO, we're well on our way toward the listing. Can't say too much about the details, but we're confident in the near future that that'll be finalized. The company has raised over the last few years about $8.7 million, and we'll be looking for a larger raise to focus on our global expansion and acceleration of our other IoT products.
From MJBulls Media, it's the Raising Cannabis Capital Show. Today on Raising Cannabis Capital, we are joined by Greg Wagner from RYAH Medtech. Greg, welcome to the show.
It's a pleasure to be here, Dan. Thanks for inviting us.
Oh, this is going to be fun. You know, we've had a number of guests who have been on our show who have talked about vaping, so most of our listeners generally understand how vaping equipment works, but what you've done at RYAH is way beyond vaping. RYAH is the world's first dose-measuring vaporizer and real-time data aggregator. Let's start here. Give us a brief overview why RYAH is different.
When people ask me, Greg, what is RYAH? Is it a big data analytics company creating predictive analysis, or is it a dose measuring device company, such as a vaporizer? And Dan, my answer is yes. Yes to both. To drill down a bit more, RYAH is much more than a vaporizer company. It's much more than a series of IoT devices that we're launching. RYAH is a big data and technology company, full stop. It's really focused on the valuable predictive analysis associated with the medical plant industry. What we see, Dan, is probably the world's first patent granted to us on AI technology associated with cannabis. As far as we know, it's the world's first. And then when you layer on these series of IoT devices, such as a vaporizer, but we have a patch coming out, a pen, an inhaler, these series of IoT devices that collect the patient data cross-referenced with their demographics and the strains, you really have a very powerful digital ecosystem designed to help change lives, to help patients, doctors, clinics, governments make better decisions around recommendations of strains, dosing of product, prescriptions, and even regulatory change. We're here to change lives.
I know it's 100% anonymous. You can't connect the user to the information, but you have access to all this raw data. And I saw on your website some of the reports that you've provided. It's astounding, the information that you're already starting to put together.
Good point. I mean, everything that we've built is on a HIPAA-compliant cloud on AWS. The personal information is completely bifurcated from the dosing information. It is not shared with anybody. Data in a very complex market like cannabis, it's like high school sex. Everyone's been talking about it, but no one's doing it. We're finally doing it. We're collecting data, and we're trying to make sense of this data to help everybody become more comfortable with ongoing wider adoption of the plant industry. You and I both know that more Americans died last year from overdosing on complex prescription drugs than all of the Americans that died in the Vietnam War. So there's a wide adoption to moving toward a plant-based model because of the complexity and the problem we're having with these complex drugs.
Yeah.
But the challenge is that at a federal level, the federal government of the United States is having trouble making sense that the data works, that the efficacy is really there. Without data, we're never going to get that federal approval. And so using RYAH and our predictive analysis and our AI technology and our IoT devices, we're really trying to create transparency around the effects of efficacy, ailments, dosing, strains, and to create sense of this so that, you know, like I said, governments and clinics, patients, doctors can make better decisions.
Take a step back. The cartridges are pre-filled with either dry herb or concentrate, and they're QR coded. They scan the QR code with their phone, and all that information about what they're using and how much they're using and all that information, it's all self-contained. I mean, it is brilliant.
Yeah, this is not a recreational device. Because all of our IoT devices, our patch, our vaporizer, our pen, all of those IoT devices are controlled by a phone, a beautiful application that turns on the device, sets the dosing and temperature as prescribed or recommended by the doctor. It collects the patient demographics and their ailments. And then you're right, Dan, when you scan the QR code to start the dosing with your hermetically sealed stainless steel cartridge, the process actually collects all the data associated with the lab results, the entire lab results of the strain. So not only do we know what temperature they set their vaporizer at, we know how many milliliters they've drawn, how many draws they had per session, how many milliliters per session, how many sessions per day, at what day at time, what night, what ailments they were trying to achieve, and what feedback did they provide after the dosing session. You'd be amazed, Dan, how much people volunteer their own feedback because RYAH provides a calendar of events to show you what strain, at what temperature, at what dosing was the right one for them so that they can learn on their own or even share with the doctor the right dosing regimen.
Oh, I know.
And this is extremely important in the medical plant industry because cannabis has very different effects on different demographics, and there's no one-size-fits-all. And RYAH allows the doctor and patient to create that unique dosing regimen.
And right in the app, right on your phone, you can bring up the information, and then they can adjust their temperature, they can adjust the dose to get it exactly right every time. This is something that's never been done before. It's so cutting edge. I think I read on your website that like 15 minutes after your session, you get an alert on your phone asking you, hey, tell us how you feel. All this stuff all ties together to make it a true user-controlled environment. It's great.
It's important not to forget that we provide software to the growers and dispensaries. So any dispensary or LP or grower who hacks our cartridges with their flower, because RYAH is a non-cannabis touching entity, they also get to keep that anonymous data. So we provide software for free to any dispensary, grower, LP who fills our cartridges with their flower and sells those cartridges. They get to see all the user feedback and data analytics associated with their strains. This gives the growers, dispensaries, and LPs an opportunity to have a better understanding of why their customers are coming in or why they're not coming in, and maybe gives them an opportunity to adjust their growing strategies. They get much more feedback than someone walking in the door and purchasing some cannabis and never coming back. This feedback gives them an opportunity to really understand what their strains are doing and whether or not it's achieving what they thought it would.
That is going to be so useful. I mean, if you're a grower and you can get that dialed in feedback, hey, this is working or this isn't working or let's change this, that's all the information that you need. I mean, I assume a lot of companies are going to be racing to work with you on this project. Speaking of that, let's talk let's talk about your plans. I know you have some big stuff coming up in the future. You're working to get listed on the Canadian Stock Exchange. Is that correct?
That's correct. To an RTO, we're well on our way toward the listing. We can't say too much about the details, but we're confident in the near future that that'll be finalized. The company has raised over the last few years about $8.7 million, and we'll be looking for a larger raise to focus on our global expansion and acceleration of our other IoT products, such as our patch. The patch has a brain on top of it. You'll be able to turn on and off your dose with the phone. I don't think that's ever been done before in the cannabis industry.
No way. That's so cool.
Yeah. It's good for ailments with people with PTSD or other chronic illnesses where the pain or issues spikes. You can actually accelerate the dosing. You could turn off the dosing and it goes to slow or no dosing release on the patch. And the pen is a multi-cartridge pen that allows for the entourage effect where CBD and THC might be a better fit for different types of ailments. We do have an inhaler that's in design. All of that obviously requires capital. Our distribution model is United States, Canada, part of the Western European countries who are very focused on medical cannabis products, as well as Australia. So all of that requires capital. These are sort of high-class challenges that we're facing, and we're ready for global expansion.
I can tell. So right now, you're raising a little bit more money in preparation for the IPO. And then when it goes public, you'll need to let us know what your ticker symbol is.
We reserved RYAH, RYAH. That's been reserved.
Nice.
For our listing.
Nice. Okay. So keep their eyes open for RYAH on the Canadian Stock Exchange. So we've been speaking with Greg Wagner from RYAH Medtech, and all of his contact information and investor information, we'll have some of it on the MJBulls website, or you can check the RYAH website. Greg, this has been really exciting. I wish we had more time because there's so much more we could talk about. I really appreciate being on the show.
Thank you, Dan. Thank you very much for your time.